In the Huddle was created to give student athletes, parents, and coaches an inside look at the journey through US college sport and all that comes with it. The demands, the experiences, the excitement, and the opportunities available to our student athletes from around the world. Study and Play USA facilitates a comprehensive, customised approach for student athletes and families for their whole journey, from their high school preparation years right through to US college graduation. Okay, listeners, this is a special episode of In the Huddle. We have a major partnership announcement to share, and this is a partnership that we feel is going to be a huge benefit to our student athletes. In the US college industry, there tends to be a pretty heavy focus on the front-end results where a student athlete has signed, maybe the name of the university is focused on. For us at Study and Play, we're interested in long-term outcomes for student athletes, and the notion that going to college in the US can really set our student athletes up to live their most successful lives. So whilst we love to see our student athletes achieving on the sporting field and in the classroom, and believe me, we love tracking this progress and supporting them along their 4 years, but what about support for their career preparation beyond their college years? There seems to be a gap that we've found to fill in that post-college space to help our student athletes transition out of this amazing experience and then take that momentum into the start of their careers. So today we are absolutely stoked to announce that we have partnered with global recruitment company Robert Walters. And joining us today to share the good news and discuss our collaboration is Hamish Winterbourn, Associate Director at Robert Walters. Welcome, Hamish.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here this morning to have a chat about this exciting partnership that we've been speaking about for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a while coming, so it's very exciting to finally be able to talk about it in public.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, mate, what a great way to start might just be for the listeners just to share a little bit about Robert Walters and then maybe carry on and just maybe what your role is within the company.
Yeah, sure. So I guess Robert Walters, as you said, we're a global recruitment firm. Our story started in 1985 when our founder, Robert Walters, opened the first office in London. And he was really focused around, building a brand and a reputation for being different and really innovative. Since, those early first days back in 85, the group has really developed into a global business and now operates quite a diverse range of markets worldwide. So we've got just over 4,000 employees globally, now over 30 locations across the globe.
Yeah, growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're entering new markets and different countries all the time. And so that's where one of the reasons we talk, see, because, we feel that with a global presence, connected with your students and athletes, we'll be able to help them with their short-term and long-term careers.
Yeah, no, that's great. As I said at the top there, I guess the big thing for us is, I guess we love supporting our students through a process to get them into college, and it's their opportunity and what they make of it, obviously, and then supporting them through those 4 years with the various ups and downs that you can experience over 4 years. But what next, I think, is that long-term aspect. It's pretty exciting for us to be able to offer support and preparation, I guess, for those next steps for those kids. So I guess from our point of view, there's so much synergy with what you guys do at Robert Walters, and as we've talked about a lot behind the scenes, it makes sense for both parties, I suppose, to be involved, with these student athletes. So but maybe just share a little bit about, we've had a few chats over the last few months. What do you feel from a Robert Walters perspective is the main purpose and benefits of the partnership?
Yeah, so look, we see it as a great opportunity to be connected and engaging with a market of talent that we probably don't engage with typically. Your athletes and students, they're not following that traditional path, right? So they're not going to universities across Australia. They're taking the step into the unknown at a young age and stepping into, universities across America. So we see it as an opportunity where we can help them transition from those universities in the States back into Australia. And I think it's really important, to look at, because, these students, when they're going over, they're obviously wanting to be the next Roger Federer or Sam Kerr, whatever it may be. And, there's a very small percentage of students or athletes that are going to make that progression into the professional market. So I think that we can really provide a lot of support, mentorship, and guidance in that transition piece, so transitioning back into Australia, and engage with them throughout a period where we can provide that coaching around, the LinkedIn presence, having a brand that they can actually present when they come back into the market. And then obviously leading into our extensive client market to be that introduction point, connect them with the right people they need to frame up their career initially, but then long term.
Right. That's awesome. I think one of the things there that you just mentioned, I think, which is it's about planning as well, right? So most athletes as youngsters will have mum and dad, coaches guiding them, planning, okay, you do this, you reach this level, you can now try out for this level. And then, some want to go on the college path and you've got to meet these standards. All of a sudden they're in college having this amazing experience where it's very structured environment. A lot of things are taken care of for them. And those 4 years fly. Again, as I said at the top, it feels like there's a gap there, that there's a little bit of lack of planning for or lack of awareness of that next stage, and maybe a bit of confusion. What am I going to do next? So we think this is going to be huge for our kids to be able to have advice on how to prepare for that next phase and get them thinking about it maybe a little bit earlier than graduation day and things like that. So look, we certainly feel the same way. I think transition, personally, having been to college, can be tough. Certainly if you're returning to your home country, you've been out and you've sort of taken time to adapt to a new culture over there, and it is different in America. So coming back to wherever you're from can be a difficult transition at times. So I think students also, they don't know what they don't know. So having a chat with someone like you and your staff about what are the current trends, what are the types of things that employers are looking for, how to best prepare for interviews. I know we've even mentioned LinkedIn, and we probably touch on that in a moment, but how to best set yourself up for that transition. But I think from our point of view as well, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that when they set out on this journey, they know that there is, as you said, the numbers unfortunately don't lie in terms of professional athletes. And for those who can make it, hats off. Hope you have a very successful career. But the reality is, for most people, their career outside of sport will probably last a little bit longer than their sporting career in most cases. So we just think it's a very logical partnership with you guys.
And I think that the interesting thing with the people, the students, athletes you're working with, I think it's their mindset, because they've had that desire at a really young, early age, where they want to be the best they can be. So, they've got that performance mindset. They've got that mindset where they want to be the best of the best. And that's obviously going to flow through into numerous aspects of their career. And I think that's where they're going to be, organisations are going to be keen to connect with them, because they do offer that point of difference. And I think it's about when you're going through a graduate program or a graduate intake, or you're competing against others, you've got to be able to identify, be able to present that point of difference. And I think that's where your students, athletes, are going to have that point of difference, because some intakes can have hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So, how do you go through it? How do you identify that one person that stands out amongst the crowd? And I think that's where, I know I'm really excited about, connecting with your students and athletes and working with them into that lead up, into that transitional period.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, because I'm quite passionate about this topic, and those that listen to our the In the Huddle other episodes, and you'll hear me talking. If you've had a chance to talk to me on a Zoom or a phone call, I'll probably will have told you this story, but the the CEO of the Bank of America was a former rugby player at Brown University, and he predominantly will try and hire student athletes because there's characteristics they possess that he feels are going to bring a point of difference to their company. And he's got a band of other CEOs that they meet with regularly, and they've got a very similar philosophy. What do you think, putting you on the spot here a little bit, Hamish? I know we've spoken about it a little bit off air. What is it about a student athlete along this path that you think does allow them to stand out?
I think the competitive mindset. I think when anyone's looking for staff, they're looking for people that are driven, competitive, aspirational, and want to be the best they can be, and always trying to look at ways that they can continue to not only further their own personal lives, but also their professional careers. And I think if you can demonstrate those points of difference, that's going to help you stand out from the peers and other people around you.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to hear. And if I may ask, I think, obviously we've got listeners from not just in Australia, but certainly the Australian mentality is we're in a smaller country. Traditionally, in some parts of Australia, the school that you went to here and the university you went to is a huge factor in the mindset of, I guess, parents, where they send their children to school and things like that, and how that may lead to jobs. We don't find that in the US pathway. The name of the university actually means very little. Of course, if you're coming out of Harvard, Stanford, some of these amazing big name universities, that's going to be something to tell the world and that's going to help, but not critical at all. It's more exactly what you talked about. Those characteristics is what gets you employed in those opportunities. Is that what you find in this day and age, or how?
Yeah, it does. It does. And look, one of the things which we do at Robert is we've actually got an international candidate management program. So what we do is we've got essentially recruiters in the UK, as an example, who they're connecting with the repatriation market. So candidates that have gone over, have followed that traditional pathway from New Zealand and Australia. You've been to uni, you've done a couple of years in industry, and then you head off to the UK for a couple of years. Mm. So we've got dedicated teams that are connecting with that international movement, that repatriation market, and that those candidates coming back into the country, organisations are interested in, because they've got international experience. They've got a different point of presence to other people. And I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but they're just different. They've had exposure to different industries, and particularly the markets in the UK, we see a lot of people leaning into that contracting world. And they do it for a number of reasons. One of the reasons they want to get exposure, right, to the way that different organisations are operating, getting exposure to different executives across groups to help with their career development, their pathways.
Yep.
And I know personally that those candidates that we're engaging with and we're representing the market is always incredibly receptive to those profiles because of the backgrounds and the experiences they've been exposed to.
Yeah. So the uniqueness of perspectives is a big part of it. Okay. That's really helpful. And I think something really important message. So look, if you're happy to, I think what would be a really cool thing to do now is maybe just share some of the things we're going to be doing together to, I guess, inform, assist, educate, prepare these student athletes for their careers. So do you want to just run through a couple of things that we've talked about in what we're going to, in terms of webinars and preparation?
Yeah, sure. So look, Robert Walters as a recruitment organisation, we specialise in review white collar sectors. So if you look across the markets of, finance, banking, financial services, legal, procurement, human resources, sales and marketing, technology and transformation is a massive market here in Australia. So what we're wanting to do is connect and provide an education program pathway for these students. So anywhere from 9 to 12 months out, we're going to start engaging with your athletes and students across the US and providing 3 to 4 Zoom meetings, webinars, whatever you want to call them, where we'll be discussing different topics along the journey, along the pathway, to help them not only get professionally ready, but also to get mentally ready for that transition. And then hopefully by the time that they hit our shores or hit the shores back here in Australia, we've already started that process with them. So their resumes or they've been introduced to numerous different organisations in the market. They may be looking to lean into some graduate pathway programs, or they may be looking to take different industry moves, right?
Yep.
So, look, I think the key things for us will be about preparing them for interviews, from that resume, giving them guidance around resume, formatting, pulling together a resume. Because what do you put in a resume when you've been to uni? It's not as if you've got a 20-year career that you can talk about numerous achievements and responsibilities and things that you've been able to do throughout your career. So it's about helping them find, some of the really cool things that they can add into the resume, which is going to help build it out and make them, as I keep talking about, but standing out, being that person that's quite different than everyone else.
Doesn't have that sameness about the look of their resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think the key things for us will be about, helping them build those resumes, giving them some feedback around the market. So the market at the moment is really interesting, right? I think there's a lot of talk around, no jobs, candidate short market. I think the market's tight from a job perspective. But I think particularly where we're fortunate, and particularly in Australia, is we've got different markets than your more traditional markets around the globe. So if you look at our mining, our resources sectors, infrastructure is a huge market for us here in Australia.
Yep.
And on the back of some pretty amazing events which are forecasted to enter Australia in the coming years, such as the 2032 Olympics, which is going to be held here in Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
Brisbane's got to get ready for the Olympics, right? So there's going to be lots of opportunities for people across numerous sectors. So I think we'll be able to help people along that journey, get them ready to be job ready, and then introduce them into the market.
That's terrific. No, that's good. And that's exactly what, from our perspective, we see being a huge value add. We're not experts in recruitment on this end, post college. So getting involved with the best is something that's very important to us. So just on that, you mentioned things that they could be doing. What are you going to do in 4 years of college? Some of the great opportunities, probably good opportunity for me to spruik this a little bit, is the opportunity to do internships, not only internships, but paid internships anywhere in the US throughout their 4 years. It probably goes without saying, but those things are obviously going to be pretty helpful, right, on the resume. Yeah. So, and there are different clubs, different organizations. We've got a young lady who is the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Board at her university. It's a leadership role. She's a spokesperson. So she's developing all the skills that come with that, bringing people together, being a sounding board, being the voice for athletes. So, her resume is going to look pretty darn unique, to put along with what she's doing on the sporting field and everything else. So, is there anything else outside of that there is specific things they could be doing in their 4 years over there? And what is your message to the students who go, well, you know what, I'd probably rather come home for 3 months in the summer break and not do internships and just hang out with my mates, versus doing those internships? What do you say to those youngsters?
Well, there's nothing wrong with having that time off, right, and hanging out. I couldn't think of a place to be as Australia on the beach, during the holidays.
Valid, yep.
But look, the thing for me is, and I always say to, people of this age group, right, is to shake as many hands as you can. Look at the whites of eyes, as many eyes as you possibly can see, and keep connections. Never throw away a business card.
Yes.
Start building a brand. Start building a brand on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great tool to be building a brand on, a professional brand, and reaching out, connecting. If you want to become a marketer, for example, start following marketing groups on LinkedIn. Start connecting with heads of marketing across different, groups or organisations, and growing your presence putting up posts on LinkedIn about your journey, about your career to this point. So, you're growing a presence in the market. I think that's really, really important. It's just that connection piece, right? Like I think it doesn't matter if you're in a sales industry or a professional services industry. It's all built, everything's built on relationships. So the more relationships you can build, the more connections you can make, the more introductions you can get, you're just furthering your network. You're creating more opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, no better place in the world to network than America as an athlete from Australia, where you do stand out over there being that, and
you sound different as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Sound different, or let's give this guy an internship, and then you've got a connection. And I can't tell you how many of our students have done those internships and made those connections, and then that's led to a job at that company post-graduation as well. So there's so many different ways to do it. But that's really, really good advice there, Hamish. Really appreciate it. So look, I think a few things for the listeners out there to look forward to, as Hamish said, lots of involvement for in-college, student athletes that are nearing, I suppose, the end of their 4-year journey over there to start prepping for that next phase. I think for students on the outset, or from the outset or starting this process, I think it's pretty exciting as well, because you've just heard from Hamish talking about things you can do even from day dot is probably getting a LinkedIn set up over there if you're going to be taking those internships and those networking opportunities. Start building the connections from year one potentially, and moving from there. So I think wherever you are along the path, thinking about going to America and worried about, gee, if I'm going to America, am I actually going to get a job later? Does my degree count? Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. Is this going to help me set up myself for the most successful life I can lead career-wise? Absolutely yes. But look, very excited. From my end, I think that's probably the main things we wanted to talk about and educate you about today and share with you. We're very excited, as I said, Hamish, about the partnership. Thank you for coming in and joining us today. But I guess for those listening, if you don't already follow us on socials, please do learn more and look out for some dates for those upcoming webinars, which we're looking to launch at this stage in the back half of this year. So follow us and look out for those and for furthermore into the coming years. So very much looking forward to what we believe is going to be a very successful and beneficial partnership, Hamish.
Thanks, Chris. And like I said earlier, we're really excited and looking forward to be, connecting them with Study and Play USA. We see it as a partnership which, we're both very aligned in what we're trying to do. You're trying to help students further their careers, and we're trying to help your students further their careers longer term. So overall, we're really excited, and we're really looking forward to connecting with, your students, athletes, and past students as well. So thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks likewise, mate. Thanks for coming in, and look forward to working with you, mate.
Cheers, mate.